If you're watching this video, there's a good chance someone has tried to rewrite the story of what happened to you. Maybe they've convinced other people that you were the problem. Maybe they've questioned your character, your intentions, or even your sanity. Maybe you've spent months or even years trying to explain yourself to people who had already decided what to believe. If that's where you are today, this video is for you. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the most painful tactics of narcissistic abuse, the smear campaign. We'll talk about what it is, why narcissists do it, how it affects us, and most importantly, how we begin healing from it. So let's start at the beginning. What exactly is a smear campaign? When most people hear the words smear campaign, they picture rumors, gossip, or someone saying negative things after a breakup. But that's not what we're talking about today. In narcissistic abuse, a smear campaign is a pattern of manipulation designed to protect the narcissist's public image while destroying our credibility. It isn't about telling the truth from a different perspective. It's about creating a version of us that justifies what they did, explains away their behavior, and makes sure that if we ever speak up, we're less likely to be believed. What most of us don't understand at first is that the smear campaign isn't about revenge. It's about control. A narcissist understands something that many of us don't realize until much later. If they can control the story, they can protect the image they've worked so hard to create. Because if people believed our experience, they'd have to ask difficult questions. Questions like, why did the relationship end? Why are so many of the same patterns showing up again? Why does everyone who leaves seem to have a similar story? Instead of facing those questions, it's often easier for them to discredit the person telling the truth. That's why so many of us were called crazy, unstable, toxic, vindictive, or the narcissist. Not because those labels were true, but because if people questioned our credibility, they never had to question the narcissist's behavior. The reason the smear campaign hurts so much isn't because we're weak. It's because it attacks some of the deepest human needs we all share. As survivors, we aren't just grieving the end of a relationship. We're grieving the loss of our reputation, the loss of people we thought knew us, the loss of feeling safe in our own communities. For some of us, the consequences go even further. The lies don't stay within a circle of friends or family. They show up in custody disputes, divorce proceedings, workplaces, churches, and courtrooms. Suddenly, we're not only trying to heal from what happened behind closed doors, we're trying to prove that it happened at all. And that can be one of the most isolating experiences a survivor will ever face. What makes it even more confusing is that for many of us, the smear campaign didn't actually begin when the relationship ended. It began long before we ever left. Looking back, many of us realized the narcissist had already started planting seeds. Small comments, subtle jokes at our expense, stories that made us sound unstable, controlling, jealous, difficult, or too emotional. At the time, we didn't recognize what was happening. We thought they were simply venting. We thought they were sharing relationship problems. We thought people knew us well enough to see through it. But those conversations were often laying the foundation for what would happen later. So when we finally spoke our truth, many people had already been hearing a different version of the story for months or even years. And if you've ever wondered why so many people seem to believe them so quickly, that may be why. So, what do we do? The first step is understanding that we may never be able to change the story that's being told about us. And as painful as that is, healing begins the moment we stop making that our job. We don't heal by convincing everyone else of the truth. We heal by refusing to let someone else's version of us become our own. That doesn't mean we stay silent when our safety, our children, or our legal rights are at risk. There are absolutely times when we need to document, seek legal advice, set the record straight through the appropriate channels, and protect ourselves. But outside of those situations, we don't have to spend the rest of our lives defending ourselves to people who have already chosen what they want to believe. Instead, we begin rebuilding the one relationship the smear campaign tried hardest to destroy, the relationship with ourselves. Little by little, we stop explaining, we stop chasing, we stop carrying the weight of proving what happened, and we start putting that energy into something far more important, our healing. Because here's what I've learned. A smear campaign can damage a reputation. It can damage relationships. It can even change the course of our lives. But it does not get to decide who we are. That part still belongs to us. And if no one has told you this lately, I believe you. I believe what happened to you. And I believe healing is possible. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Until next time, keep choosing yourself. And remember, we're healing together.